History is not a sequence of accidents. It is a series of choreographed events designed in quiet mahogany road boardrooms and executed on the grand stage of world maps. You were taught that wars are fought for democracy, for land, or for religion. But if you follow the trail of gold, you will find a singular, chilling truth. Every bullet fired, every city leveled, and every empire fallen was a calculated entry in a ledger. Welcome to the shadows of the world's most powerful dynasties. Today, we peel back the veneer of global politics to expose the architects of chaos. We are diving deep into the 300-year blueprint of debt that has turned humanity into a global workforce for a handful of families who do not just own the banks, they own the concept of money itself. The alchemy of debt, printing wealth from nothing. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world he didn't exist. The greatest trick central bankers pulled was convincing the world that money has value. To understand who owns the world, you must first understand the mechanism of the central bank. Most people believe that the government prints money. They are wrong. In the United States, the Federal Reserve is as federal as Federal Express. It is a private cabal of banks given sovereign power to create currency out of thin air, and then lend it back to the government at interest. Imagine this, the government needs $1 billion. It doesn't just print it, it issues a bond of promise to pay. The central bank takes that promise, types a few numbers into a computer, and poof, $1 billion is created. But here's the catch, the government must pay that billion back plus interest. Where does the money for the interest come from? It doesn't exist yet. The only way to pay the interest on the first billion is to borrow a second billion. This is not a financial system. This is a mathematical trap. It is a perpetual motion machine of debt. By design, the debt can never be repaid. The more a nation grows, the more it must borrow. And the more it borrows, the more it is enslaved to the architects who hold the pen. From the Bank of England in 1694 to the Jekyll Island meeting in 1910 that birthed the Fed, the pattern is identical. These families, the RTHSC, HLDS, the Arskafleurs, the Warburgs understood a fundamental law of macro history. He who controls the supply of currency controls the destiny of the state. As Meyer Amschel famously whispered, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws." The Waterloo Gambit financing both sides. The architects do not take sides, they take interest. The most iconic example of this macro strategy occurred on the blood-soaked fields of Waterloo in 1815. While Napoleon and Wellington were clashing for the soul of Europe, the real battle was being fought in the London Stock Exchange. Nathan R. had a private intelligence network of couriers and carrier pigeons that was faster than any state-run service. He knew Napoleon had lost a full day before the British government did. Did he celebrate? No. He began selling his English consul's government bonds. Seeing this, the market panicked. R knows, Wellington has lost. Everyone screamed, the market crashed to pennies. At the very last moment, Nathan's agents began buying everything in sight for a fraction of its value. When the official news of Wellington's victory arrived, Nathan R. didn't just have more money. He owned the English economy. In one day, a single family became the primary creditor of the world's greatest empire. This became the architect's manual: fund both sides of a conflict. Ensure the war is as long and expensive as possible. Use the chaos to consolidate assets and political leverage. Whether it was the American Civil War, where the London and Paris branches of these families funded the North and South respectively, or the massive industrialization of the Soviet Union, funded by Wall Street capital. The goal was never victory. The goal was indebtedness, the harvest of chaos, the century of debt, and the birth of globalism. As we moved into the 20th century, the architects realized controlling individual nations was no longer enough. To truly own the world, they needed to own the international system itself. This led to the creation of the most sophisticated financial weapon in human history. The Federal Reserve Act of 1913, signed in the dead of night while most of Congress was away for Christmas. This act effectively handed the keys to the American economy to a private banking syndicate. But why America? Because America was the rising titan. By controlling the dollar, they controlled the world's reserve currency. Shortly after, the world was plunged into the Great World War. I noticed the pattern. Whenever a new financial system is installed, a massive geopolitical reset follows. During the 1914 to 1918 conflict, the debt of nations skyrocketed. Germany was forced into a debt trap through the Treaty of Versailles, a treaty designed not for peace, but to ensure a second war would be inevitable. Why? Because war is the most profitable business on earth. It destroys old infrastructure, requiring new loans for reconstruction. And it forces governments to spend money they don't have, borrowing it from the very people who funded the destruction. By the time World War II ended, the old European empires were bankrupt. The architects met at Bretton Woods in 1944 to finalize the New World Order. The dollar became the king. Backed by gold and till, the architects decided gold was too restrictive. In 1971, the Nixon shock removed the gold backing, turning the dollar into fiat, Latin for "let it be done." Money became a pure act of faith, backed by nothing. But the military might of the United States and the oil of the Middle East, the petrodollar, the invisible web, BlackRock, Vanguard, and the end of sovereignty. Fast forward to the 21st century. The names have changed, but the bloodlines and strategies remain. Today, power is no longer just in the hands of banks. In the traditional sense, it has evolved into asset management giants. If you look at the top shareholders of almost every major corporation from Pfizer to Boeing, ExxonMobil to Google, you will see two names recurring like a digital ghost, BlackRock and Vanguard. These are not just companies, they are the new planetary administrative layer. Together, they manage over $20 trillion in assets, more than the GDP of most G7 nations. Who owns BlackRock? Vanguard. Who owns Vanguard? A private circle of the very families we've been discussing. Shielded from public view by layers of private ownership. This is the circular ownership model. It allows the architects to control the food you eat, the news you watch, the medicines you take, and the politicians you vote for, all while remaining invisible. This is the Great Reset strategy, the manufactured crisis. Whether it's an energy shortage, a pandemic, or a financial crash, crises are used to justify emergency measures. The consolidation, small businesses fail, while the megacorporations owned by the architects grow larger. The surveillance state, shifting from physical cash to CBDC's central bank digital currencies. Imagine a world where your money isn't a piece of paper in your wallet, but a line of code in a central database. If you buy too much meat, or if your carbon footprint is too high, or if you protest against the government, the architects can simply turn off your ability to spend. This is the ultimate goal of the 300-year plan. Not just the ownership of property, but the ownership of human behavior. The trap of the digital panopticon. We are now approaching the event horizon. The architects have realized that physical debt, while powerful, has its limits. People can default. Nations can collapse. To achieve absolute frictionless control, debt must become digital, programmable, and biological. This is the transition from the era of ownership to the era of access. You've heard the slogan from the World Economic Forum, "You will own nothing and you will be happy." This isn't a prediction, it's a policy. By shifting the world toward a subscription-based economy where your house is rented, your car is a service, and your software is a license, the architects ensure that your access to life can be revoked at any moment. The introduction of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, is the final lock on the cage. Unlike physical cash, which allows for private peer-to-peer transactions, every cent of a CBDC is tracked, logged, and conditional. If the architects decide the economy is overheating, they can set an expiration date on your savings to force you to spend. If you consume too much unapproved information, your digital wallet can be restricted to only purchasing essentials. This is the ultimate macro-historical synthesis, the fusion of financial power, technological surveillance, and social engineering. The architects are no longer just managing your money, they are managing the parameters of your reality. Section 6. The payoff, breaking the script. But here's the secret they don't want you to know. Their entire tower of power is built on perception. The 300-year blueprint only works as long as the masses believe in the illusion of the expert, the authority, and the necessity of debt. Macro history shows us that every empire built on usury and deception eventually collapses under the weight of its own complexity. The architects are currently in a race against time. They are pushing for total control because the old system is dying. The debt is too high, the lies are too transparent. And the Great Awakening is no longer a fringe theory, it is a global phenomenon. True sovereignty does not come from a ballot box or a bank account. It comes from the refusal to be a pawn. It comes from understanding the history they tried to hide and building parallel systems communities, decentralized technologies, and self-reliance that do not require their permission to exist. The architects of chaos thrive on your fear and your ignorance. But once you see the strings, the puppet master loses his power. The question is no longer who owns the world. The question is, do you still own yourself?